Alright, hey guys. This tutorial I'm going to go over the sequence editor. That's these three buttons here. There's also a groove edit, which is mostly for your drums. I can go into that a little bit in this tutorial as well, but I don't want to keep it very long. So let's start with the sequencer. If you push function in the sequence editor, you'll see on the LCD screen that you have page 1 of 8, and it tells you underneath that the sequencer line that you're on. We're on line 1, and what it tells us is for the filter bank, it's the filter bank volume for the low pass filter. I'm not going to get into all the different things you can sequence with this. What I think I'll do is go over sequencing basically the analog synth. Now, let's just pick, we're going to pick a sound and just work with that. So we press select, the analog synth part is loaded, and let's just pick some sound. I don't really, care. Okay, I do care. I want something else. Let's pick a lead sound, maybe. I'll pick that sound. Now, I think every sound that's loaded, pre-made in the Spectralis for the analog synth goes through something called the trigger group 1. I'm going to get into trigger groups in my next tutorial, but I thought I should mention what they are because we'll have to activate one of those for this to sound through the sequencer. So now let's make a sequencer line so we can make a pretty simple sequence. So you press function, and then you'll use this encoder and just scroll all the way to the end, and it's going to ask you to create one. And you press the encoder, and now we have a new sequencer line, line 17. So now to get something to play, we'll go to target, and you have the section, the group, and the parameter. And for us, since we're going to be working with the asynth, we're in section asynth. Global, I don't think you can actually change that. And there's 3 trigger groups. That's all you can have. Trigger group 1, 2, and 3. Well, as I said, everything that's preloaded in the Spectralis only activates trigger group 1, I believe. But as long as you could hear the sound when you had pressed select and then analog synth, you should be good to sequence something. Okay, so when we press function, we're on page 1 of 8 on our sequencer line, and that's line 17. You can get to different lines by scrolling around. We are on 17, and it says trigger group 1. Now, if we were to just press buttons down here, the note that would be played would be C-3. That would be the bass note. The length of that would be a fourth of a step, and then the velocity would be 63. Now we can change that to be 127, 63, or whatever. We'll stick with 63. Now you can go through and create your own sequencer line by shifting the notes and pressing a button, or pressing the buttons under these encoders, and generate, let's say you want to change the length, and well, I'm not making anything pretty, but we can then push play and it will actually play those. Now you could change the note by moving the encoders above it. Okay, that sounds pretty terrible. Now, to delete those sequencer lines, or those notes, you just press the button twice. Now, the reason you have to press it twice is because pressing it once creates that note, the length, and the velocity. If it's different than what was there before, you'll have to press twice. Okay, now if I push play, there's nothing playing. So the other way to create the notes is to hold down the encoder and then press a note on your keyboard. Now, that will play at a length of 3, so 1, 2, 3. It'll play until this note. Now you can do it that way, and then now you can input more notes by pressing by holding an encoder. And that's a pretty basic sequencer line. Now you can change. Now the length of all of these is 3 because the settings in this trigger mode are all set to 3. Now we could change all of them by moving it to what you want. So the length of 1 step, and we could change that to 6. And then you press the set all. Now if you push play, it plays all of them for a length of 6, so it will overlap. Now there's other, so we're only on page 1 of 6, or 1 of 8, I'm sorry. On page 2 of 8, it allows you to change the resolution, what each step represents. Here, each step represents a 16th note, and it has a length of 16 steps, so you have 16 16th notes. If we change the resolution to each note is 30-second notes, whoops, now when we play that, it will go by a lot faster. So we can do that live. 64th notes, 192nd notes, or 4th notes. Page 3 of 8 allows you to skip notes, and all you do in this screen is you can just press the notes that you wanted to skip, and if there were notes there, it will skip them. It doesn't mute, so it just kind of skips those points. So I'll undo that. You just press that once. Page 4 is a glide feature, which I haven't actually used, but I might have to make a tutorial on that one specifically, but that would work the same way, where you can you press the note that you want to mute or to have the glide feature on. Mute allows you to mute the note, the step, so instead of skipping like we did before, it will actually go to that but not activate the envelope that was generated on that step. The last allows you to change where the step ends. Now that was the same as on page 2. The length is 16. So if we can actually press, so the length is 9, and I believe now the length is 9 on the page 2 of 8. So we'll leave that at 16. 7 is actually pretty much the same as page 1 of 8. I don't know the difference. Maybe someone else does, but I don't. And then page 8 of 8 allows you to activate the transpose, or I'm actually not sure what the rev part is, but I never use it. So the last one is groove. If you turn this on, this allows the swing allows the swing function of the song to activate that part. That is actually going to be something you find within the groove edit. Kind of seems a little odd that it's there, but it is mostly for the drums. But you can have a sequencer line being affected by the groove or the swing of the song as well, and you would find that through this function button here, and you can change the groove there. So anyway, that's a basic for getting a sequencer line going, and I think that's about all there is to the sequencer lines. You can always activate new ones, make new ones, and mine I haven't changed from the original settings. So actually, sequencer line 1 through 10 is all the filter bank volume controls, or you can activate different filter bank frequencies there. 11, 12, and 13 are trigger groups 1 through 3. And then 14 is a sequencer line to allow you to change the multi-mode cutoff, and etc. And I think that will be it for this tutorial. Thank you.